this is what's there to say. And as expected, I'm sure we've heard the news of Antonio Conte parting ways with Spurs. This was always going to be the result, quite frankly, especially after the rant he went on in his last game in charge with Spurs, after they drew 3-3 with Southampton at St Mary's. And in regards to the rant that he went on in the post-match conference, was he wrong? To an extent, no. To an extent, he was making valid points in regards to the ambitions of the club, in regards to the ambitions of the board. But at the same time, he has his part to play in the mess, in this disappointing season for Spurs. Quite frankly, you can't hide away from that. And so, like I mentioned before, there's certain players within the Spurs squad who he hasn't utilised. Dan Juma, Brian Hill, Jed Spence. So he has his part to play. And but now I do believe that that Conte is going to get a new job, probably in the Serie A, most likely. Either to Juve, Inter Milan, wherever, Roma, or wherever club, Lazio, wherever. Conte will get a new job, I do believe that. But in regards to Spurs, it's really a merry-go-round where no matter how world-class the manager you get, or the manager who is considered an elite manager, because a lot of people would say that Jose Mourinho was washed before he went to Spurs. But with that being said, I think right now, I believe that they're probably going to go for Julian Nagelsmann, because as we also know, Bayern Munich sacked Nagelsmann from the Bayern Munich job, and they've replaced him with Thomas Tuchel, who was briefly sacked by Chelsea. So there's going to be a bit of a cycle going on once again when it comes to managerial appointments and firings between these big clubs. Spurs, big club, you know, big club Spurs are apparently. But the point is, I do believe that Spurs are going to try and speak to Nagelsmann. If not, there are other options out there. I don't think they're going to get De Zerbi, because he just settled into the Brighton job. I don't think they'll get him at all. I personally suspect that Nagelsmann is probably going to wait for the Chelsea job to see if Potter is still going to be in charge of Chelsea next season. So that's what I personally feel, because in my opinion, I don't think any elite, respectable manager, or a manager who's going to come up, because Nagelsmann is young. I think he's 36. I think he's 36 years old, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think he's around 36, 37. In his late 30s, so he's young for a manager. With that being said, I don't think that. I don't think any respectable manager will want to go to Spurs, because there'll be just a lot of frustration, as there was with Conte, as there was with Mourinho. Nuno, I mean, nobody really wanted him at Spurs. Well, no Spurs fans didn't want him from the get-go, so that doesn't really count. Pochettino, you know, there was a lot of frustration between him and the Spurs board, Daniel Levy and ENIC, the ownership, which is why things went sour. Then he left after a bad run of form, and so where do they go from here? It's just go around the mountain all over again. Spurs are just going around the mountain. When's it going to end? Hopefully never, as an Arsenal fan, but is it ever going to end? I just don't see it. And quite frankly, I think the only change that would be vital for potentially creating a winning culture at Spurs would be a change in ownership. and changing the boardroom level as well, because they are great businessmen. Daniel Levy and the board, they are great for business. You know, they got the F1 deal recently. They have the NFL, they have the boxing, and now they got concerts. You know, I think Beyonce's performing there, and then WizKid as well. So clearly they're not rubbish. They do have business acumen, but once again, like I said before, do they have the bottle to invest in the team, in the club, so they can compete and win trophies? Because once again, 15 years is a long time to not win a trophy. 15 years is a long time to be barren without silverware. That's a very long time. I was 11 years old. That says a lot. So yeah, we're gonna see what happens with Spurs. I wouldn't be surprised if Nagelsmann went there, the Spurs, but it would just be for me, personally speaking. I just feel like unless the mindset of the board and the ownership changes, it's going to be the same old shenanigans with when it comes to investment. They're going to invest. They are going to make some investment here and there, but I don't think they'll do enough to support a manager to kind of breed a winning culture, quite frankly. And what are they going to do? I think at some point they're going to have to sell Harry Kane, unless he wants to stay himself. I assume that Harry Kane, being the elite striker that he is, that he wants to go in and improve his career by winning a trophy, being ambitious for himself, for his own legacy, because he will be the best ever striker to never win a title as of right now. If he stays at Spurs, or if he just never wins a trophy, because he's pretty much had his prime years at Spurs, for being honest. Because he's almost 30 years old now. He's practically 30 really, and most of his athletic prime has been at Spurs. He's gotten the golden boots. He's recently become the all-time England goal scorer. He needs to decide for himself what he wants for his legacy: trophies or individual accolades. And yeah, so I think something has to be done. I do believe that if they want to kind of rebuild from scratch, Spurs' first move will have to be selling Harry Kane. It will have to be for them to move on, because from a neutral point of view, he's shown enough loyalty, and I think in return Spurs should show him that respect of him for his legacy, and for him moving on and winning the trophy for his career and for his legacy. But with that being said, we'll see what happens. We'll see in the summer who Spurs appoint and how they kind of proceed from here, since Conte's left. And I always knew that it was never going to work, knowing how Conte is, knowing that he's always a short-term manager. He was very impatient. He wants stuff done now rather than being part of a project. That's how he's always been at Chelsea, Inter Milan. Well, at least in recent years, because at Juve he was there for a while. From what I remember, he was at Juve for a while, about 4 or 5 years, I believe. I'm not sure, but recently he's very impatient. He makes demands for now, not for the future so-called project. So I'm not surprised that he got sacked or parted ways, which is just another PR move, a PR term. So I'll leave it at that. That's all I have to say. Take care. God bless.